Hey there, I'm Christopher Schoenwald, and welcome to Life as a show intently focused on helping people find their professional pathway by exploring and unearthing the details of jobs from around the world. Hey, how are you doing? Before we get started today, I do have a favor to ask of all of you. I did start a channel over on YouTube in the last year and a half or so. And yeah, I'm really trying to promote that. And the reason being is I think the content that I'm putting out here, we're doing all right with some of these guests that are coming on. And I think it deserves to be put in front of more people. And one of the best ways, of course, of doing that is through a platform like YouTube. Now, if you do interact with these videos on YouTube, that algorithm loves it. And that's the only way that it knows to continually share that content, put it in front of more people. So yeah, I could be a little bit biased here, but I think, finding out about some of these careers is great for young people. It's great for mid-career professionals. So yeah, like, subscribe, it would help a ton. All right, well, let's get into this episode today. I don't know about you, but I'm getting this feeling more and more often that the future is now. It's not tomorrow, it's not next week, it's not in 5 years. We are living it right now. And for me at least, I get these feelings when I speak with people that are living these moments, whether it's within their professional careers, whether it's their businesses that they operate. Now, the guest that I have on today definitely gave me those types of feelings. And she's running this company called ListenField. It's an agrotech company. Now, you might be wondering, agrotech, well, what the heck is this? Well, let me break it down for you. You're basically combining agriculture and technology. And the aim, at least for this guest company, is to help build resilience in agriculture using multidisciplinary technology, such as satellite, sensor data analytics, and more. Her tech allows farmers to know when they need to water their crops, soil quality, the condition of their crops, all sorts of things that obviously are quite useful and help, take out the uncertainty of farming. So we get into it all, what it's like running a tech business within the agricultural sector. Of course, I also ask about things like the challenges, some of the rewards of this type of life, this type of business, and the meaning attached to it all. So, all up, I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation, and I do encourage everyone to check it out. Now, let me more formally introduce her to you, and we can get started. Rassarin Chinnachodteeranun is the CEO of ListenField, an agricultural intelligent farming service. Her background, prior to establishing her company, was as a researcher who applied field sensor networks to solve problems in agriculture, environment, and disasters in several countries. Now, Rassarin has a Ph.D. in engineering from Japan, specializing in applying API platform design to agronomic models. It was during her research where Rassarin realized a huge gap between scientific research and agricultural outcomes. Thus, she decided to bridge this chasm. Enter ListenField, a company aimed at helping to build resilience in agriculture using multidisciplinary technology, satellite, sensor, data analytics, and agronomic prediction. ListenField's ecosystem is aligned to support sustainable and precise crop development that makes farmers, research organizations, and governments efficiently handle uncertainties caused by weather variability and quantify risk and ensure stability. ListenField has been providing its interoperable agro-environmental platform for serving agricultural reform schemes and has obtained a patent in Japan. ListenField has been recognized by international organizations such as Deep Tech Global Community and was the finalist of Seed Award by the UNDP. Now, with all that noted, here's my conversation with Rassarin Chinnachodteeranun. Yeah, so welcome to the program, Rassarin. Pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for having me with you today.
Yeah, really excited for this. As I was preparing for this talk and going through the outlines and whatnot and researching your company, I mean, every now and then I get this feeling that the future is right now. We are living in the future. And, it's not 5 years from now. It's not 3 years from now. It's right now. And your company, ListenField, really generated that emotion within me as I was just going through this. So I couldn't be more excited to dive into it all. But I do have this first segment lined up. And as my listeners know, it's something called Coloring Wikipedia. And basically, it's just a segment. I read off a definition or two related to the guests and what they do. And I actually put you down for two definitions. Okay. And they're fairly simplistic, but let me just read off each and then maybe you could comment after. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
All right. Perfect. So here we go. The first definition I have is startup. A startup is a company or project undertaken by an entrepreneur to seek, develop, and validate a scalable business model. While entrepreneurship includes all new businesses, including self-employment and businesses that do not intend to go public, startups are new businesses that intend to grow large beyond the solo founder. Okay, that's definition number one. The second one, AgroTech. So AgroTech or AgroTech is the use of technology in agriculture, horticulture, and aquaculture with the aim of improving yield, efficiency, and profitability. Agricultural technology can be products, services, or applications derived from agriculture that improve various input-output processes. There it is, both definitions. First take, what do you think of that?
I think it's right. And I want to add more on like startup, experience startup, and to experience as a co-founder, we have to have strong mind as well to be a part of a startup journey. And for AgTech, this startup part AgTech is like for AgTech, people who be involved with AgTech, somewhat they have to have strong motivation. As for agriculture, it cannot be something that go quick or it cannot be something that grows as e-commerce. It's something that stay with people, interact with people, involve with nature, and need time to change. Even we talk about technology that go fast, but when talk about agriculture, it's something that go slowly, go with a cycle, go with the season, and this for agriculture. And in part of technology, one thing that I want to highlight as well is that for agriculture technology, one thing that we can also do is that to use technology to reduce cost, operational cost in farming. And another important point right now is that technology can also be a part of sustainability. So optimize the resources used so that we can be more sustained and be friendly to our planet as well.
Yeah, I really like those adjustments that you've kind of, added to these definitions. And that point about, technology, of course, being fast, and that's the image of it, and rapid and change is constant. And it's built in almost to the definition itself of technology. But that notion of agriculture, of course, it's one that just goes at its own pace, certainly. And that must be really interesting to run a business, being immersed in both worlds, where it's like fast paced on the one hand, and on the other, it kind of, I don't know, maybe it grounds you a little bit and forces you to kind of slow down and rethink things. I could see it being maybe a point of frustration at times, but also at different points, if you're able to really reflect on it, it could be a strength. It could be something that actually adds value to your business model. What would you say to that?
Yes, exactly. That's what I also say. It requires strong motivation. And what is strong motivation? Of course, it have a lot of challenge. But if we stay focused, motivate, like passion about this and stay with it long enough, then is the opportunity as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, well, that's part of the spirit of this segment, coloring Wikipedia. Is what I really enjoy about it is getting into these sort of like finer details and finer perspectives. Quite frankly, the definitions are kind of cut and dry, and they tell you enough, but they don't paint a complete picture. And the insight that you just provided there, I think it just gives you a wider view of what these concepts or these constructs truly mean to somebody like yourself, say, who has a business that combines both of them. Was there anything that you'd like to de-emphasize within those definitions, or are you satisfied in that sense?
I think it's good. But another thing that not really emphasize, but add on for this is like for agriculture, we have to deal with a lot of uncertainty and many uncertainty that cannot define with some knowledge that we gain or from experience. But with technology, we might be able to use technology as a tool to understand, adapt, or be able to reduce the risk or the damage from uncertainty as well.
Yeah, it almost mitigates it to a certain extent, doesn't it? Well, with that being stated, I do want to shift over into this other segment if we could here, Rasan. And it's called A Day in the Life. And, I'd be really curious to hear about, what things are like for you as a CEO of a tech startup being based within Bangkok, within Thailand. What is a typical day for you immersed in what you do? Again, tech being this fast paced, at least the image would be. And then as you just sort of outlined, agriculture itself just kind of slowing things down. So what is your life like these days in running ListenField?
Mm-hmm. But as a CEO and co-founder, for me to run ReasonField is the kind of how to say I don't have a definition of holiday. No,
Mhm. What's that, right?
it's not
Yeah.
like okay. Every day I get to work. Every day is about ReasonField, but at the same time, it's not a kind of feeling that I feel like I have to work, but more on okay. Every day I can do things, improve things that I think I can do like that. And like I'm a early bird person, so I wake up very early in the morning, like 5 a.m. and like it's a time that everything is calm. So I can spend time to like okay, make my coffee and then my coffee read some newspaper. I'm a kind of old school people. I still read newspaper. And after go through a newspaper for every pages, then right now I have two cats. I'm kind of spend time watching a cat walking around to calm myself. And then like from 6 o'clock, then I start to check task on GitLab. So in our company, we use GitLab as a task management and a project management. Then I spend time to check, okay, what's going on and is there any part that I have to answer or review? And then 8 o'clock, then we have I go to office and then say hello to a team member who come to the office. And then 9 o'clock, we have a daily stand up. Then we check, okay, what's going on inside the team and spend time working in the morning, like spend more time on thinking of what kind of product that we want to develop or what kind of feature that we can improve better, review customer feedback. That kind of activity is going on. And then most of the time, a lot of meeting going on. So meeting with customer, meeting with team member.
How long has ListenField been, in operations for?
We just celebrate a 6 year anniversary this month. We
Oh,
set up this
congratulations.
review on the 5th of June on 2017. So we choose the World Environmental Day as a day that we established ListenField.
How fitting. Okay, well, congratulations. Yeah, that's it's quite the journey. I mean, for anyone who's involved in entrepreneurship, everyone knows. I mean, it can be a battle. It can be quite the challenge, and making it out of those first few critical years is one of the biggest hurdles. And to get into your 6th year now, and to continue to be growing, and I've been seeing your company and viewing it, online places like LinkedIn, and some of the activity there that I'm sure we're going to get into later in this conversation. But yeah, congratulations on that. All right. Well, before we do get into that, I do kind of want to rewind a little bit in this next segment here, something called pathways. And the aim of this segment is to kind of illustrate how people make their way into their businesses or into their professions. And oftentimes, from my experiences of speaking with a lot of different types of people, entrepreneurs or professionals, this line of how they make their way into it is often left hand turns, right hand turns. It's never straight, it's never linear. And I'd love to know a little bit about your journey to the point of launching ListenField. First of all, did you have any form of experiences or interest within, say, agriculture or technology, or were these things that sort of just naturally developed later on in the course of just living life? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
For me, actually, I didn't plan at all to like have my own company, but more on like, okay, I'm interested in technology. I enjoy utilizing data to solve problem. And one day I have a chance to join a research group that work in agriculture. We setting up sensor in the field, and like we use the data to improve the productivity of farmer, like hill tribe farmer. So that kind of a project that like make aha moment to me is like I feel like wow, this is a thing that I can enjoy, and it's make something better, make people happier.
Improve lives. Yeah. Yeah.
At that moment, I know that okay, I like to work in this field, and then I choose to study Ph.D. on like to understand about how we can utilize data for agriculture modeling part. And then come to the step that okay, we already built something up, but if we really want to create impact, then we need to make it sustain. We need to make it as a business, not just a research project. Then I and my co-founder, who was my advisor, think that okay, we should continue. Then we set up ListenField. At that time, it's like without any experience, as like I even don't know at that time that okay, what is fundraising, but just have the idea. Okay, we want to continue what we have built. We want to make this become more useful.
Okay, so it sounds like to me it was completely passion driven at that point, and the entrepreneurship side of it was a byproduct of the passion already being there for the idea and the potential and possibility of what your ideas offered. Basically, is that would be correct?
Exactly, that's right.
And I guess once you get on that pathway of entrepreneurship, I'm sure you figured out a lot of things on the fly rather quickly.
Exactly. It is not like I have no choice, but luckily that I'm the person who like if I don't know, then I ask question, and those people who I ask for, they're willing to support that like really become a part of encourage me to like keep moving, keep walking through this journey.
And was it at this point that you were within Japan at this point when you were in university, or?
Yes, that's right. I established ListenField in Japan first in 2017. And 2 years later, then we established ListenField in Thailand.
All right, so you're doing university in Japan and then undergoing some of these experiments basically and research projects in Japan, which has a strong or rich agricultural history itself. And then at that point, you once things developed to the point of like you want to continue this, did you establish operations in Japan first and then go over into Thailand, or was it?
We use ListenField Japan as the base and the headquarters, and ListenField Thailand as
Yeah.
the hub to
Okay.
expand our technology in this region.
All right. Well, how exciting. Well, maybe we could meander over into another segment here, Rassarin, a Q&A discovery. We can kind of just continue this back and forth. And, I thought this might be a good opportunity for you to, better explain ListenField as far as, the scope of product and services that you do offer. Maybe you could just share that with listeners a little bit more, a little bit more deeply.
Sure. So ListenField is the tech company, as you already described, and we utilize technology to help to answer the question in agriculture. We use technology as a tool to provide engine so that farmers and stakeholders can manage their farm in effective way. And we use the technology to help farmers and stakeholders to reduce their operational cost, improve productivity, and also become more friendly to environment. And from this, then we provide information from soil to harvest. From soil mean we help our farmers and stakeholders to listen to soil to understand that what kind of nutrition that is available in soil, what kind of nutrition that need, so that they can plant crop that can be more productive. And then during a growing season, then we provide health monitoring, crop health monitoring by utilizing satellite and remote sensing to help our farmers understand the health of their crop. It's like we provide X-ray image for every 5 days to understand the health of their crop, understand what kind of nutrition that their crop need, how much water that their crop need, and we provide analytic engine to help farmers to understand that based on this climate uncertainty or climate for the coming season, how much yield that they can expect or how much risk to lose their crop that they might need to prepare. So this kind of information that we provide, and also based on this is like the farm management tools that we provide so that we can upgrade farmer to become a professional farmer that can be profitable.
That's exactly it. What I was speaking of earlier is like the future is right now. Again, like when I listen to this and I hear these, these offerings of what you were just describing, like the future is right now. It's not within 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It's right now. Like this kind of blows my mind that for a layman, somebody who's not within this sector at all, it seems like it's coming out of nowhere in a way, and I guess in a sense, relatively speaking, even 5, 6, 7 years, like that is kind of like out of nowhere. Suddenly we have these tools available that we can analyze, like what you were just describing, when we should be watering or how much, yield we could be expecting based on factors X, Y, and Z. Like it's just taking farming and what that whole profession, what that whole lifestyle is all about, or traditionally has been about, and just almost flipping it upside down.
We are exciting too, but at the same time, a lot of challenge though.
I'm sure. Yeah, like any startup, like any business, most definitely, most definitely. But all the same, I mean, for what the potential offers or what it represents, at least, I mean, it would seem that you're on a pathway to really changing things. Becoming a bit of a game changer within the industry. So yeah, exciting. Well, I have this other question here, and it does relate to this idea of technology. Of course, we're speaking a lot about technology today. It's the backbone of your business and what you're all about. But I find it interesting that nowadays, like in a lot of different areas, even outside of just agriculture, that technology is almost becoming viewed as this savior in a way. I mean, governments are kind of viewing it that way. Businesses, and environmental matters are kind of like clinging to this hope of technology solving some of these big problems that we have. And I saw recently, an article on Japan. Of course, Japan does have this rich farming, tradition and agricultural history. But at the same time, it is still this island nation. And actually, there was a ranking, I think, where it was showing that in terms of self-sufficiency standards, Japan was one of the lowest in the world. And for me at that time, like it was a bit shocking to see that. And critics would point to, this being a danger, it's a weakness for Japan. And the Japanese government, their retort to this was that their strategy moving forward was to be relying on technology, basically leveraging technology to improve yields and efficiency so that, despite some of their other shortcomings, they still feel confident that they're going to be all right in essence. And I would suspect that that's part of ListenField's positioning, not only for a country like Japan, but for a lot of other places or regions of the world. What would you say to this?
I agree with this statement. It's like for land, we cannot expand land anymore. And it's like in terms of people, human, anyway, the population is declining, which means that the only one way to make the limited resources become more productive, or like limited resources to produce in a better way, that is only the technology that can be a part of that.
It's hard to argue with that when you're seeing results that you're seeing right now, I suppose, and the potential of what offerings like that are, promising to others, and again, exciting positioning for you to be within as well at that point, I would assume. I do have some other questions here as well. I mean, as a startup, CEO and founder of a company like this, it would seem to me that like there's a certain level of enthusiasm when you know that you're onto something and you see a gap in the market, like what we're just speaking of. That would be an opportunity, certainly. But at the same time, like things are never as easy as they seem. Like, you feel like you could just slot your offering in there and the uptake would be instantaneous. But that's not how things work, obviously. There's some hardship and struggle and all of that associated with it. Now, in terms of your offering, again, I mean, it would seem that well, why wouldn't anyone grab onto that right away? But for you and your business, what has been the biggest obstacle to this point of more widespread adoption?
For agriculture, as I mentioned, is about the thing go slowly, and not only that is like traditional style or like when dealing with farmer. So they have been doing this for their whole life. But when we ask to change, it not that easy. And like especially for technology and data that we offer, is really need time to prove that okay, this is better than the conventional style that they have been working for their whole life. So this is the most challenging one that we are facing. And second challenge is that in agriculture, what sometimes what we call is like it have been analog. Analog mean that anyway, when we talk about technology, digital technology, AI, they need a lot of data. But the industry that have been analog for like a long time, then data is very important, but this also a challenge that we also have to try to correct data at the same time as building technology. So this is also another challenge.
Are your customers typically bigger farms themselves, or are you going after small sort of enterprise? Like, what would be your target?
Right now, we are working with a group of farmers, like contact farmers, and a company who are working with farmers. So this is like the customer that right now we are working with.
Okay, and that would make sense then, I guess. So you can kind of rely on that middleman to do some of the educating, I suppose, and leverage the relationships that they have with the farmers and the trust that they have to help facilitate or ease the product or service into the hands of the farmers. I would guess.
That is exactly what we are doing. We at the beginning, actually, when we expand the business to Thailand, we kind of jump into like working directly with farmers. But one thing that we realize is that it might not be the right relationship yet as for farmer. Anyway, they still need to have like human relationship. That's why we pivot our business to be like, okay, we have to work with a corporate, or we have to work with agri businesses that have relationship with farmers, and then utilize technology, and at the same time make technology become more mature that it can be easy to adopt for farmers.
Yeah, that's a really good point, I think. And that's one that I think bewilders a lot of people who might have a tech startup or entertaining the notion of starting one and thinking that, well, this offering just makes too much sense for a customer or potential customer to say no to. Your enthusiasm for the product or service can sometimes get in the way of some of these just market dynamics, like, something like this, where yes, it makes complete sense for these people to adopt it. But if the trust, if the feeling isn't there, you're going up against these issues of traditions and all these other things that are powerful influencers of, decision making processes. It can really stymie or prevent a business from growing. And I think it's a really valid point that I think, as someone who is entertaining this notion of getting into, any type of business, you have to really, that's why market research obviously is quite important, and speaking with people, as you said, communicating with people and really truly understanding their needs, their fears, rational or irrational, to better understand how you can position or strategically go about, positioning your company for success. And I think that's a really valuable lesson. I'm really glad that you brought that up there. I do have this other question here within this segment. And it's kind of going to this point of, you'd mentioned already, like why you got into this business of doing good basically within the world. Like something like this is transformative, or it has the potential at least to be transformative, whether we're looking at a macro scale where you're affecting large regions across a particular country or area, for example. But also you could consider, micro scale sort of influences that you can have on small businesses or small farms, which obviously comes down to individuals. And that can really be transformative for people, for families. So, I mean, what I'm driving at here is, philosophically speaking, I mean, your work and your mission, there's a lot there in terms of where you could be deriving your own sense of contentment in what you're doing. I'd love to hear that a little bit more from you, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, for this, maybe I will pick up one story. It's like for this, at the beginning, when we start to expand business and service technology to Thailand, then I have a chance to visit many remote area to like really see that what is going on. So I met a very old farmer. Yeah, very old. It's like right now he's like 70 year old. When he listened to what we are sharing at that time, I I don't think that he understand the technology, but he feel like, oh, he have some hope. He have some hope that farming, he feel like, oh, he have to put effort, a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But right now, it's the kind of thing that will make his life better. It become like, oh, not just a technology, but a kind of thing that it can provide some hope.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's a kind of a story or the thing that make him feel like, oh, right now farmer is not just the people at the bottom, but if with technology, then he can be in the trend. And since then, he still keep using the application that we provide. And this is like the one thing that, okay, we have been thinking many times that for smartphone application that we provide for individual farmer, should we continue or not? But with this kind of user, then
Yeah.
it keep us think that it's still like someone that still see the benefit and keep using it. And this is not just the mission that I share, but this kind of the relationship as well.
Yeah, that human interaction, and again, like the transformative nature of what you're offering, right? I mean, it's probably something that you wouldn't have necessarily envisioned. And when I was considering that question, that's not exactly what I was expecting to hear either. But it makes complete sense, though. It does make sense, and it's this other byproduct of what you offer and how it can change people's lives, not just for dollars and cents and making things easier in terms of like the labor associated with the work of being a farmer, but also like the image of it. And maybe in some way that attracts a different type of person who wouldn't otherwise consider getting into it. And like, this is more tech related, and maybe, that's going to not only attract more people, but maybe even more investment into it eventually. So if you can kind of consider it or speak to people like that and hear these stories, then yeah, I guess that could certainly change your perspective and give you a different vantage and viewpoint on it all. Hmm.
Interesting. I never think of this before.
No, neither had I until your story there. But yeah, it's an interesting sort of byproduct of what you are doing, and how it could change things, at least for some people, and maybe eventually lead to bigger changes. So yeah, I appreciate that story. Maybe we can
Mm.
count that as the water cooler story segment, which we were just about to get into. So that was absolutely perfect timing. Yeah, which does lead us into our last segment here, a crystal ball segment. And as the name implies, we're looking towards the future, trends, predictions, so on and so forth. And again, we've been speaking a lot about technology already, but I mean, for good reason. That's what your business is built on. And when I was thinking about this idea of technology and your company, it must be exciting in a lot of different respects. I mean, technology by definition is something that's constantly changing. I think we spoke about this earlier, and that creates opportunity. Of course, change can mean opportunity. That's also exciting. But on the other hand, what change can also mean for a business can be, somewhat unsettling at times. It can really wreak havoc in a way. Your internal systems need to change, external systems. processes, offerings, all these different things can almost destabilize a business if not managed correctly. So, my question here is, what is it like being so closely aligned, built on the back of technology? Your company, your future is built on this idea of technology. What is that like?
What is that, right?
Yeah, like it must be exciting, as I said, but it must create some degree of challenge and perhaps stress at times for you. What would you say to that?
Yes, as I share that for agriculture, right? Of course, when we build the model for agriculture, we have to deal with a lot of uncertainty.
Hmm.
And but at the same time, when we build the model or we analyze the data, try to find the answer. And when we plan for the output, we always think of the positive way that, oh, we will figure it out that, okay, this kind of factor can contribute to this kind of result. And this can also help our user to understand the situation better and improve things. It's like when we develop this kind of model, it's not this kind of straightforward or this kind of linear equation. Most of the time, we have to spend time figuring out what's going on. It's like 3 months past, and then we end up that, oh my goodness, so it's not as what we expect.
Yeah.
So this kind of a kind of when we have to deal with technology
Yeah.
and uncertainty at the same time.
Right. So it sounds like to me like the uncertainty is the expectation of working within technology. Is like, at some point you're going to be surprised. So as long as you're mentally prepared for that, like things
Right.
aren't always going to be as simple or straightforward. There are going to be some things that are going to rock the boat or change things around a little bit. It can kind of help you to prepare for those moments, it sounds like.
Exactly. And even we not have to like deal with soil in the field as farmer, but at the same time, we also have to deal with this and have to train ourselves, train our team to be able to accept this kind of failure, and then start always think of how to find the way
Yeah.
to get into the goal.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's maybe also part of entrepreneurial 101, like always finding a way and keeping that right mindset, when you're encountering challenge and trying to turn it into something, an opportunity perhaps for growth or an opportunity to pivot and so on and so forth. So, okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I do have one last question here. I mean, and it goes to this point of AI. Of course, AI is a big topic right now, and it's part of your offering and what, ListenField is about. But, I'd be curious about what other ways we could expect AI to transform agrotech moving forward. Do you have any insights, or is there any chatter within the industry on particular applications, or maybe, things that you're interested in exploring a little bit more?
For us, it's like for agriculture, right? It's like it has been in a process, right? But as I already mentioned, a lot of uncertainty there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we can see AI as a kind of maybe some black box and find some a solution that the kind of process model, like physical model or process model, cannot be answered. So this is what we see, that this is the opportunity of the combination of process model and AI model in agriculture. It's like, as you may see, like soil is very mysterious. Like only one spoon of soil contain like million of life.
Yeah.
So with a process model, we might not be able to understand it, but with AI, we might be able to understand the nature better.
Okay. Okay. So better understandings, and then also maybe this idea of offsetting uncertainty as well. With all that knowledge, how you apply that knowledge in ways to better position your product or your, whatever you're growing for success in that sense. All right. Well, I must say, it's been a true pleasure in learning more about ListenField, but also just hearing different perspectives on what you've been sharing throughout this conversation. I think it'll be really interesting for listeners. One, from that perspective of a tech startup, but then also too within this field of agritech. So I can't thank you enough for all of your time today, Rassarin. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you very much. And when I talk to you, it's like you reflect on what I say. It's become more like very interesting to also listen to the idea or the conclusion that you add up on what I say. This is very interesting talk.
Now, for those interested in learning more about Rassarin, of course, you can check her out, her company, ListenField. You can also find her on LinkedIn as well and on YouTube. And for reference, I will have links within the show notes for all of these sites. And I mean, also, if you like today's show, please be sure to share. It helps way more than you can know. You can also rate, review, and subscribe this podcast wherever you access them. And lastly, don't forget to check out YouTube. I will have a highlights compilation of the talk there, so you can kind of take it in a different manner. And finally, don't forget to join us on the next episode of Life as a, where we'll continue to explore and unearth the details of professions and the people behind them. I'm your host, Christopher Schoenwald. Until next time, stay curious about life and living.